So you told me something, when we're kind of getting ready for this hangout, you said
Hmm.
that in 2014, virtual assistants inserting into your business is going to be the change for you because you just started
Absolutely.
using us and you
Yeah.
hired your first virtual assistant. What was that like? What happened? What was changed? Tell us a little bit about how it worked and what you had. Just give us an idea of the process for you.
Well, the biggest, I think, we all have self-limiting beliefs, and what that means is we have beliefs that limit our true potential of being the great leaders and the great people that we can be. And what I found was that one of my self-limiting beliefs, and I'm slowly shedding, we all have them, but one of them was in order to create a great team, they had to be local. Although I knew that wasn't true in my heart because even though we had our team primarily local, all of our admin people were here in Austin. Um, we had sent them all home several years ago so that they were actually working from home. So it really was not kind of a local thing. And so anyway, my self-limiting belief was that if I got virtual assistants involved, I would lose synergy. You know what I'm saying? In other words, there's an engine in that machine that if they're not if all the components are spread out, they're not right close up to the engine being me, then I would lose something that and so uh, at any rate, I decided because of a number of reasons um, that I really wanted to give it a shot. And I know you and I have been talking about it for years, and I was very skeptical. I didn't know that it would work, but as you can attest, I hired my first one. I was so excited that I think 2 weeks later, I hired the second, and then within a few months, I've hired the third. And I now, I now visualize a business that's completely, one of the hardest things is you don't want to let the current loyal people that you have go, but I envision a future of VAs that's just beyond belief. And so there's no limit to what I can do now. That's the best way to put it.
That's really
So,
cool.
so
What
I think your question for 2014 was when I look back, what will be the game changer? Like that one thing, and I told you it would be. I don't think it was the answer you expected, but I told you it would be the fact that I hired my VAs, and that was
Yeah,
just a few months into it.
yeah. That was a mind blower for me. So
By the way,
what?
you got to shut me up. You put the time out on it, baby. You know how I go.
What's funny is like I've been chasing you since 2000. We initially met in 2009, and so I chased you
Absolutely.
for 4 years. But
Yeah.
what was the thing? What do you have them doing, and what was the shift? Because there was a certain shift, and the reason you're here today is because
Yeah.
you're one of the most successful people that I know in the real estate industry. You've trained tens of thousands of people. Literally on stage, I'll walk in and there are 150 people just like drooling over what Knolly Williams is saying. I swear to God, this is not. I'm not making this up. But there was a shift in you. And what
Yeah.
was that shift? And what do you have your virtual assistants doing? And what would you tell the people who are listening to have your virtual assistants do?
Yeah. Okay. The shift for me came when I started getting a passion and a burden to do more training
Mm-hmm.
and more speaking engagements. So I came up with a system for my speaking engagements from A to Z, from the time that we locate the venue all the way to after we do the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started implementing that system myself. It's just much like, when you started your big REO business. I don't know if a lot of people out there know you had one of the largest REO businesses in Sacramento area. But the point is, when you started that, you probably did most everything yourself just so you could kind of get your system down. So that's what I did. But I really needed help, man. I was on the road, and then I've done 29 events this year,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to do our 30th one next week. And I would be literally trying to plan the next event while I'm at this event, and it just wasn't working, and I knew I needed help. So I think you and I we just started talking about I think we met at a convention, I think it was, or we saw each other again at a convention.
So
And
let's
I was like,
just to
yeah,
make sure that we're kind of leading the people. So you have
correct,
one virtual assistant who manages projects and events for you.
correct,
So
yeah,
from booking your hotel, booking your flight, booking your car,
yeah,
making sure that when you show up, you have everything that you need to do to speak in front of everybody, having conversation. Because what you do is you go into a market center, you talk to the leader of that market center,
hmm,
you create the presentation, you market that presentation. Your virtual assistant is running all of that for you, right?
correct, correct. And my vision has always been, I just want to show up and deliver. Because if I can just show up and deliver, none of the passion is lost. In other words, when I get there, I'm refreshed, I'm ready, I'm excited, I'm energized, and I can give the people 100% of what they came for. Whereas if I have to be engaged in all the details, which Malin handles beautifully, and she does a much better job than I did with it, then if I can, my thought was if I could free myself of that, then I could be the best me that I could be. That was really my thought going into it.
And if you're listening and you're trying to well, Knolly does events, what do I do that would be the
Mm-hmm.
same? Do you feel like this person, I mean, you almost said it, you don't want to do any of the transaction coordination, you don't want to do any of the listing coordination, you don't want to
Right.
do any of the marketing, you don't want to do any of the calls to set everything up, you
Right.
just want to show up. And so if you're a
Correct.
listing agent right now thinking, how would I use a virtual assistant?
Yeah.
This is one of the key ways. You
Right.
should just be showing up to a listing presentation and doing what you do great, which is interacting with the public
Correct.
and
Absolutely.
closing the deal. Correct. I mean, that's exactly how you would see this translating to a real estate broker, right?
Yeah. So in the real estate world, what it is, for example, in the listing business, I'm a big lister, and I preach listings, man. That's my sermon, and I teach agents how to get a whole lot more of them. And what I've come up with, for example, in the retail listing system, you could see here, kind of if you could see that, everything that I do, I kind of spreadsheet it out or I put checklists to it. And I started asking myself, of all the duties that go into the listing, okay, now number one duty, generate seller prospect. That's the number one, lead generate. And then the last thing after the closing is pick up the sign and lockbox, right? So what are all the things that go into a listing from the time that I generate the lead to the time I pick up my sign and lockbox, right? After I've collected my paycheck.
Right.
Oh, I put that out. There's about 36 items here, and I've discovered, Daniel, that a VA can handle, of the 36 items, a VA can handle about 33 of those.
Right.
See, so there are really only three things as a listing expert that the listing agent needs to even focus on. And so what that does is it frees you up as the lister to go out and get more business. I mean, the same thing is true on the buy side as well.
Yeah, so I want to just slow you down because a lot of people that are listening are thinking, well, okay, I'm at 20 or 30 deals, or I'm at 70 and 80, and I'm about to go to the next level, which is breaking 100 or breaking 50 or whatever. And what you just said was the secret for them to do that, which
Absolutely.
is create a process and a checklist, and then determine whether or not which pieces of that process require your input. And one of the challenges that we all have is, as super successful people, is we think that we do it better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And the truth is we don't, because we've got 12 million different things moving. It's better for us to hire somebody and have them focus. And the way you do that is you make your list.
Correct.
And then you say, I need to do it, or I can leverage it.